If I were to be coaching you right now and your partner's standing in front of you with his penis out and I'm telling you how to deep throat without gagging, these are the things that I would tell you.
You on the Y3 podcast, brought to you by Modern Party Art. Come to them for all your art entertainment needs, birthday parties, you need a venue to rent something out, anything you trying to do, you can come to them. Paint and Sips, mpa.com or modernpartyart.com, 268 Bowden Street in Boston. So today we are talking about sex ed.
Yes.
And I have the very certified, and I want you to introduce yourself. Awesome. I want you to introduce yourself, talk about what you do, how you got into it.
Okay.
And just yeah, we got a little bug over here, but just talk about how you got into it. But it's an interesting field. So.
All right. So my name is Ziakeya. I am a certified sex coach and a somatic sex educator in training at this moment. So kind of how I usually tell people how I got into the business is that I started having sex consensually when I was 16 years old. But I didn't have my first orgasm until I was 28, and I gave it to myself. So in that moment, I had kind of like an epiphany, like, wait a minute, if I've been getting it like this all these years with my partners, and I never experienced, like the pinnacle of pleasure during sex, then something wasn't right. So in that moment, I started to like discover. I'm like one of those people, like I always seek for information and seek for knowledge. And that's kind of when I started what I call my pursuit to pleasure, and that's what the name of my business is, Pursuit of Pleasure. And basically, my goal was to learn as much information I could about my body, and also help other people do the same. And not so much about sex education, but pleasure-based sex ed. I think a lot of times when we think about sex education, we think about like the anatomy of a body and all that stuff. And a lot of times we're told what not to do, but we leave the pleasure aspect out of sex all the time when it comes to education.
Right.
So my goal, honestly, is to get people to understand that sex should be pleasurable, how to advocate for yourself in that right, and to kind of get rid of all the shame and stigma that's surrounded by sex. We have to kind of unlearn a lot that we know in order to really pursue pleasure. So yeah, that's kind of how I. So
you said that what did you say you was in training for? What was it?
So I'm in training for somatic sex education.
So what's that for the people that don't know?
So I'm a certified talk-based sex educator. So basically with talk-based sex ed, it's like I'm giving you action plans, giving you knowledge, giving you permission. Let's say you come to me and you say, hey, listen, I've never been able to experience an orgasm, or I have a partner and I want to learn how better foreplay techniques. I will talk you through that. I'll give you the education, give you the permission, let you know it's okay. And then we'll do like action plans to get you the actual skill needed to execute whatever it is you want to execute. Okay. Now, when it comes to somatic sex ed, it's more so teaching people how to be more present in their body. So as we're sitting here right now, a lot of times we're so far gone from like just the things that are around us, like our senses. When it comes to sex, I always want people to remember that sensuality has a lot to do with all of your senses. So your vision, your touch, smell, all of those things. Right. So what somatic sex education basically is, it's like teaching people how to go back into their bodies and feeling things that the world basically tells us that we shouldn't feel. Especially because we live in such a patriarchal society. The way I kind of think of like the society and the way it is that we're in bondage because we're not able to be free sexual beings the way we are. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about the somatic sex ed part. I just started my certification for that. It's very intense, but it basically looks more like, let's say you would come to me and let's say you've had some sexual trauma in your life, and you're not able to feel pleasure. We would work and I would physically touch certain areas of your body with your permission, and you would your touch would be guided by you. Like you would tell me how you want to be touched in order to tap into that pleasure. It's a very different approach to healing people, but it's definitely something that I think
for sure, because I haven't heard of it, so yeah, definitely different. And when you say certified, a certified sex coach, right?
Yeah.
So I want you to just talk about being certified, right? Because right, even when I had put out that I'm gonna have a certified sex coach on the podcast, right? I had a lot of people be like, certified sex coach? What you mean?
What is that? What is that?
Yeah, like, kid, you just I had one dude. He was a kid.
Therapist?
Yeah, he's a kid. You just learn all that shit on the hub, like Pornhub. And
yeah, that's the one place we don't want to learn about sex is from porn. But I went through the Dr. Rachel Institute, and you can look that up. It's a black woman who is a doctor who decided to create her own institute to teach more about human sexuality. I was one of her first students, and I went through hundreds of hours of things from our anatomy to physiology of pleasure, love, different types of relationships. So it was a lot of comprehensive education. But with that, I also continue my education. Like there's always, like in the human sexuality world, there's always courses and classes that everybody can take to learn more. The education in the human sexuality world is very different because sexuality is ever changing, right? So the education has to stay current in order for people to, do what they do. So I'm certified. So anybody can tell you, this is what sex is like, but there is education.
Right.
And I think we need to make sure if you're getting help from anybody, it's education. And I do want to make sure that people understand the difference between a sex therapist and a sex coach. I am not a sex therapist. I've always wanted to go that route, but I didn't want to spend those many years in school. I'm not doing all that. Right. I'm more like a instant gratification kind of person, get it done, teach, make, you know what I mean? But with sex therapy, it deals with more the psychoanalytical. Sex coaching is more hands-on. Just think of me like your wing woman, like your football coach. I'm cheering you on, I'm giving you permission, I'm there when you need me. So I love that role a lot better. Okay. So I'm the person that's gonna say to you, your sex therapist would wanna get into your brain and figure out what kind of traumatic things happened to you as a child that caused you not to be affectionate to your husband. I'm gonna say, listen, this is what you need to do to be affectionate to your husband.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so I'm giving you the action. Yeah.
So in the last, I guess, year and a half that we've been in the pandemic or whatever.
Yeah.
How has COVID affected what you do and how you're capable of doing it?
A couple of different things. So because I want to be as transparent as I am, I'm young, so I'm a aspiring entrepreneur. I do have a business, but I still have a 9-to-5, right?
Right.
So one of the things that the pandemic definitely shown me was that my business and the skill that I'm working on is something that's definitely needed in the world. So with that being said, I started to really look at ways that I can reach people. COVID did something really good for me. It gave me the opportunity to really scale back and put myself in the environment. So I started working part-time at a sex shop where people frequent, so I can get to know people, because I didn't like being away from people and like being in isolation, not being able to go out and socialize. It did do a damper on my business because I get a lot of my clients through my my parties that I do, like my toy parties. Like when I have somebody ordering in a private room, that's usually how I get my clients. So COVID definitely taught me to market differently, but the nature of my business, it's really hard to market because there's a lot of censoring online, right? So you're like, if I want to be direct and say, hey, listen, I'm teaching an oral sex class, I have to make sure I change the language if I post it on social media.
Right.
So COVID, what I started to realize with COVID was that it was important to, really connect with the person that was looking for me. I needed to put myself out there in a way where people could find me. And that's why I started working in a sex shop. Being able to give the people my education while they're shopping for like sex toys. You have all kind of people that come in there. But I will say this, the sex industry is a $1 billion business. Yeah. Right? Industry, rather. And think about it. People were spending more time with each other at home, right? At the beginning of the pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, I made my first $10,000 one month in selling sex toys.
Damn, that's dope.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of crazy.
And that led me to quit my government job that I was working for 13 years. And I was just like, hey, I could really do this. But I definitely saw, like, COVID definitely showed me that, like, what I do is definitely something that's needed in the world. And I was able to tap into that a lot more because I quit my job. You know, people were together more, you know, and people were separate. So my market, I was able to expand. You got the single person who's at home who can't go out and mingle to find whoever they want to get with. Then you have the couples at home that are like, shit, we spend so much time together, we need to do some new stuff. So COVID definitely had a unique effect on like my business.
It's dope though. It seems like it ultimately helped more than it hurt it.
Yeah, and it made me really see like how important entrepreneurship is, honestly. Now I can't see myself not doing this, you know.
All right, so we're gonna get into, I got some questions that came from people that follow my platform, and then I got some questions that I put on here. So the first question here, how does one deal with the anxiety that comes with having a new sex partner?
So one of the things I always say when it comes to like just meeting new people in general is that you have to really show up authentically as yourself. That's where you're most comfortable. So one of the things that we struggle with, that I see like millennials struggling with, is just not being able to really fully and truly authentically be you. Because when you're in that space, you're able to vocalize your needs, right? You're able to, naturally when you're yourself, it's easier for you just to be, right? So the anxiety level kind of goes down when you can just naturally be yourself. But with a new partner, a couple of things I would tell people is basically keep in mind that this person is new. They don't know anything about you, right? So now you're in a learning phase, right? And I think that a lot of times, like even myself, I'm like an instant gratification kind of person. I think that a lot of us are like, we're instant. So one of the things that I urge people not to do that can also curb the anxiety is stay off social media when you first meet somebody. Don't start, like, let's say I met you at a club, right? One of the first things I'm probably going to ask you for is your Instagram, right? Or your Facebook.
Right.
And what I'm going to do, and I've done this, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are watching have done this too. You go to their IG, you start looking through their pictures, you start looking through their Facebook, and now you feel like you have a sense of ownership, like you know this person, but you just met them. Now I feel like I know you. So now I'm carrying that into the relationship. And that gives like these expectations of you that it's gonna give me more anxiety. So now when I really meet you, I'm like, okay, well, you posted pictures on your Instagram with this nice car, but hey, that was you were standing in front of your brother's car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so as far as like meeting a new partner, so keep in mind, just stay off social media and really get to know be authentically yourself and get to know the person that's in front of you. Leave the social media alone, because that gives you a skewed view of who that person really is, which is gonna give you more anxiety. As far as sex, having sex with a new partner, there are a couple of things that I would recommend. One, if we're gonna be real, if you're gonna be introducing yourself in that kind of situation with someone new and you're having sex with them, keep in mind that this person doesn't know your body. They don't know what turns you on. So get rid of those expectations of what sex should be like, right?
Right.
Don't always think of the orgasm at the end, because when you're meeting somebody new, they don't know your body and you don't know theirs. And then like certain things that you should definitely do that will kind of curb your anxiety. New underwear when you get a new partner, because it's going to make you, especially for women and for guys too, it's going to make you feel better, something new. Keep in mind that when you're with a new partner, this person doesn't know you. So let's say you just got to have a relationship for 10 years and your partner knows your body odor and things like that. When you're with somebody new, you have to be very mindful of that kind of stuff. Right? When you're with somebody new, and that in itself will definitely help curb your anxiety. Those are just the things that I would do. Yeah.
So the next question is, how can one tame or at least work on taming their gag reflex?
Oh, during oral.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody. Well, I teach a class called Dick Choreo, which is basically my way of teaching how to perform fellatio. So definitely I do like house parties. I can come to you, your group of girls, do classes virtually, whatever. But let's get to the gag. Right. So one of the first things, I'm just going to say this off the bat, I don't believe in desensitizers. I don't believe in those sprays that you spray in the back of your throat. I don't believe in any of that. One, your body, if you're feeling pain, it's because your body is telling you that there's something wrong. Sex should not be painful in any way.
Right. So
I'm just going to say that right off the bat, because a lot of people ask me, how do you feel about the sprays? So this is what you do. So there are some ancient things that people do. So one of the tricks that people say that you can do is put your thumb and your forefinger like close to like the palm of your hand like this and make a fist. This is something that a lot of the dentists use that helps with, like, you know, when you're going to the dentist and they're like taking x-rays and putting things in your mouth. Some people who have issues with gag, they tell you to do this because it helps with the gag. Some people say it works, some people say it doesn't. So I do say that because a lot of people, it helps people.
Goddamn dentist.
And it's long, it's been around forever. I think it's like, I don't know if it has something to do with like the nerve or if it's like a distractor. But me, I'm more into the specifics as a coach. I'm into the education. Like if I were to be coaching you right now and your partner's standing in front of you with his penis out and I'm telling you how to deep throat without gagging, these are the things that I would tell you. Every day you get up, when you brush your teeth, you want to make sure that you're pushing your toothbrush to the back of your tongue daily. Okay, that's the first thing. Our tongue has a lot to do with our gag. So when you're brushing your teeth, boom, make sure you hit the back of your tongue. And every day when you brush it, and this is why I say start this way, because every day we brush our teeth, right? Sometimes most people should be doing it twice a day or after every time you eat. So if you're one of those people, you're getting even more practice with the gag. So by putting your toothbrush to the back of your throat, you're helping your tongue get used to the gag. And I'm pretty sure everybody knows what that feels like when you're brushing your tongue and you're like, eh. But if you just inch it back a little further every day, you'll notice that the gag is gonna be reduced, right? So you're gonna have gag. Some people don't have it, but you're gonna have it because it's your body's way of protecting you from danger. That's just what it is.
Right.
So not only that, so that's one way that you can do that daily. The other thing that you can do is positioning, right? And also adding lubrication. So let's talk about lubrication. So lubrication, a lot of the ingredients, like some of the lubrications that I market, that I sell, have don't have sugar in them, but they have things that help you salivate, right? So the more moisture you have in your mouth, the easier it is for someone's body part to slide to the back of your throat, right? And then you also want to think of like positioning. Some of the positions that I tell people to do is like, so your throat is like a curve, right? So like laying on the bed, like upside down, kind of like with your head back, that helps. You know what I'm saying? So, and then practice, and then knowing that in order for you to get good at anything, you have to practice. Like in this society, like I said, it's always instant gratification. I'm gonna be completely honest with all of you. You have to practice these things. You're not gonna wake up one day and be like, oh shit, I'm superhead, and I'm gonna swallow you whole. Like it takes practice. It's a muscle. Your throat is like a muscle, so you have to work it out, you know? So those are some of the things, but definitely working, like brushing the back of your tongue definitely will help get rid of that.
Okay, word.
Yeah.
So I hope people took notes on that.
Take notes, y'all.
All right, so the next question is it possible that a woman cannot have orgasms at all from intercourse, right? Like it's just impossible.
Well, it's not impossible, but it is very common. So most women prefer clitoral stimulation, and a lot of women do not have orgasms through penetration. So if I were to tell anybody anything about how to have an orgasm, one, I would say it's not always the end all be all, because sex can be great without an orgasm. It can absolutely be good without it. But if you're looking for a woman, because it's mostly women who have that experience of not having orgasms. Men don't really have that problem. Right. It's us. So this is how I normally start. Again, education. So the clitoris, a lot of women think it's just this little button there, but the clitoris actually looks like a wishbone. So your clit also extends beyond your lips and into your vagina as well. So when we know that about our bodies, we're like, okay, boom. So I know there's other places I can stroke and touch to give me pleasure. The only purpose for your clitoris, ladies, is for pleasure. Scientifically, there's no other reason why we have a clitoris. The only reason why we have it is to feel good during sex. A lot of times our partners don't necessarily pay much attention to our clitoris. So knowing that now, fellas, or whoever your partner is, if knowing that the clitoris' only sole purpose is to bring us pleasure, now you know that's something that needs to be focused when you're having sex. So for women, when it comes to having an orgasm, there are two main things that I tell people that they need, and it's relaxation and tension. And most people are like, why do I need tension? Well, when it comes to an orgasm has a lot to do with spasming of your of your vagina involuntarily. If your vagina is weak, when it comes to a spasm, it's not going to be able to spasm, right?
Okay.
So you want to be able to relax yourself enough, but to have enough control over your pelvic floor that you can flex and have enough strength in your muscle that when it comes to the spasm, your vaginal muscles are actually able to spasm. So think relaxation, but tension. One of the ways that you can work to get an orgasm, like to work better on like just the anatomy of our bodies, is doing Kegel exercises. So what that should feel like is like you're pulling upward and you're squeezing and then releasing. A lot of women put weights in there to make it stronger, but that's one way to help with the tension part of the orgasm. And then keep in mind too that a lot of women can orgasm by themselves and not with a partner. So when you're thinking about, okay, Z, I have this toy, my toy is gonna make me orgasm, you're thinking about, in that act, you're exploring your body. You know the places on your body that are gonna turn you on. Where we fail as women is that a lot of times we lack the skill to tell our partner specifically what it is that we need to achieve that. And sometimes our partners lack the skill to know how to give their woman an orgasm, or if their partner is a woman, an orgasm. So in those instances where you're with somebody else, learning the skill to vocalize your needs, the same way if you masturbate and you're able to bring yourself to orgasm, you know your body. And that's why I always, May is masturbation month, by the way, y'all. So this is a good topic. So the best way you can achieve an orgasm is to masturbate. You got to know your body. You got to know what's going on down there. Okay, if I touch this fast, I know that's my spot. So once you learn your body and you're masturbating, then you can then translate that to your partner. Hey babe, listen, I know if you go to the right side of my clit, that's the spot. The left side, not so much. You know what I mean? But we have to learn how to be with our partners and vocalize what it is that turns us on. And then again, it also has to do with who your partner is too, right? They have to provide that safe space for you to do that.
All right, so next question. This was a viewer question, but I like this question a lot because I directly relate to it, because I've had times especially when I was younger, that I didn't know how to communicate this, right? So how do I tell my partner that I've been faking like satisfaction in bed or orgasms without hurting their feelings?
Yeah. So I'm just gonna give you this response from experience, because I think experience is the best teacher. I've had a situation, I was in a long-term relationship where, like I said to y'all, at the beginning, I started having sex consensually when I was 16, and I didn't have my first orgasm until I was 28. I'm 32 years old, and I gave it to myself. So imagine my partner at the time, how that made them feel when I was like, because I was like, I'm a Leo, y'all, so I'm real direct. I'm real direct that time. So I'm like, yo, I had an orgasm. I bought this toy. I've never experienced that in my life, right? So
just shredding his ego.
Honestly, in that moment, as an educator, what happened to me in my personal experience when I did that probably wasn't the best way to approach that situation.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot from that. One is that when it comes to telling anybody about performance, especially a man, if your partner is a man, you definitely want to make sure that you have empathy and that you understand that a lot of times when it comes to men, ego is involved. So you have to be very mindful of that. And I'm only going to tell you from experience because I date men, so I know how to communicate to men, you know? So teaching, like knowing exactly like the makeup of a man, like your ego. So you can't be like, babe, you know, all this time you've been fucking me and I ain't never had an orgasm. So we have to make sure as women, we think about our tone of voice, how we're doing it. We keep in mind that, again, like I said earlier, a lot of times it's not that person doesn't want or doesn't want you to have an orgasm. Sometimes they lack the skill. Like there are some partners who may not know that, you know, a G-spot orgasm requires pressure. Some people don't even know where their G-spot is. A lot of people don't have the skill and the education to really know how to have pleasurable sex. Honestly, we just do it. So this is gonna kind of get off topic a little bit, but I want y'all to think about this, right? Honestly, because people, when I tell them I'm a sex educator, I'm a sex coach, they just don't understand it. But think of it like this: when you're young, when you learn how to tie your shoe, someone showed you how to tie your shoe, right? we are social beings. We learn through explicit instruction and examples and modeling of behavior. Everything that we learn has either been taught to us or we saw it and it's a learned behavior. Sex is no different. It's so crazy to me that it's the one thing that creates all of us, yet the world shames us for knowing about it, right? And then we have those walls and those blockages up as well. So a lot of times when we're having sex, we're just doing what either we watched in porn, what our homegirls or homeboys taught us, and we also have everything else on top of that, what they tell you not to do. So I'm thinking, I'm a black person, right? I know where I grew up. I know like the conversations that me and my friends were having, you know? So for instance, I know that throughout my adult life that I had a shame about oral sex, because as kids, we used to say stuff like, oh, if you suck, oh, she sucks dick, you know? So that's learned behavior. So take that to a person that's now an adult who has a man and they're like, I can't suck your dick. So now we have, that's what I do. I teach you, I give you permission, and I teach you how to unlearn all of that shit that we have that just, it doesn't make any sense, right? So I just want y'all to keep in mind that. So things have to be taught. So when you're looking at your partner, have grace with your partner. Like if we just treat each other with humility and have grace with one another, we'll be able to, one, communicate better to our partners, and it won't be a shame, right? So if you have grace with your partner, you'll learn and you'll know, like, okay, listen, he didn't make me have an orgasm, but I'm not gonna love him any less. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explain to him, hey, listen, this is what I need. So know your body, learn how to give yourself one first, because you can't be checking your partner if you don't even know how to do it to yourself. Right?
For sure, for sure, 100%.
So same man, women, whatever you are, know your body, know how your body works before you can expect anybody else to bring you pleasure. Like I get people all the time that are like, I'm really big on my DMs, like on my Facebook, I'm on Facebook a lot, and people are always in my DM asking questions, and that's the one thing I could say. You cannot expect your partner to bring you pleasure if you don't even know what that is for you. So once you find that out and you find the courage and just treat your partner with grace, you'll be able to have that conversation honestly. Word. Yeah.
Okay, so next question is, how can one be more comfortable in their own body during sex? In my past experiences, I have had relationships where like my girlfriend would only like to have sex with her shirt on or with the lights off, or you know what I mean? So yeah, how can one be more comfortable in that with their body?
So as a coach, and I actually have a client right now that I'm working with, and we're working on just exactly what you just said, just being comfortable in our bodies enough to have sex. So there are things like, I know a lot of like my generation, we're really into like opening it up to our spirituality and just knowing ourselves a lot better. So one of the major things that I can tell anybody to do in that moment is positive affirmations. So again, and this is why I just love the work that I do, because we have to, there's so much shame and shit. Like you look at your body, like your girlfriend that has, you know, that's sleeping with her shirt on and having sex with her shirt on. Somewhere along the lines, somebody told her, or she was told that maybe she wasn't good enough, or, you know, that her body wasn't right. Or, cause like, just think of it like this. When I was a kid, I was chunky. Sometimes people would talk about, you know, my weight all the time. Oh, you're chunky, you're chunky, you're chunky. So naturally, when I go into the bedroom, I'm not confident in my body. You know, I'm just, so one of the things that we all have to do, again, is unlearn all of that stuff. So as a coach, some of the things that I do to help people with that is practicing positive affirmations. There's this exercise that I do with people where you have to get naked, get completely naked, look at your entire body in the mirror. And you're gonna actually, the places on your body that you don't like, because in this world, everybody's like, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. Yes, but acknowledge the feeling of the things that you don't like as well, right? So if your areola on your breast is so dark and you hate that, you know, you look at it and you just look at it and you get to a place where you're like, this is me. It's acceptance. You just have to accept the skin that you're in, but that takes work. And like I said, if you have issues with your body, it's not your fault. Honestly, we live in a patriarchal society that basically, especially women, tells us that we're not capable of anything. We don't have the skill. We're not beautiful enough. So we have a lot that we have to work against. So if there's anybody feeling like they're not one with their body, it's not your fault. And there are things you can do to work to go the opposite way, where you're feeling like not only confident, you have to get to a place where it's like radical self-love. There was a point in time, and I'm just giving you personal experiences, where I didn't even like know what my body looked like. Most people don't even know. Like, I have a birthmark on my breast, y'all, and it extends to my back, to my arms, and I didn't discover it till I was like 25 years old. That just tells you how far gone we are from our bodies, right? So really getting to know your body and just learning acceptance, honestly, is how you're gonna
okay.
That.
So I like this question here. How can one introduce toys in the bedroom with their partner?
So I like to think it's toys as sex tools. They're a tool. That's it. They're not going to replace a nice warm body. Hey, listen, I use toys. I recommend people to use toys, but it's not going to replace a human.
Right.
You know, I'm really big on touch and sensuality. However, sex toys can be very beneficial to your health and to actually help you make sex better. So I'm going to give you an example of why they're good, and then I'll tell you, how you can introduce them into your relationship. So for men, a lot of times men don't even know that there are sex toys on the market to help them have better sex. So for instance, for men, there are things like cock rings that can provide constriction, that can give you longer and harder erections. So, and there are also things like male masturbators that can help men build up their stamina. For women, when it comes to sex toys, they're beneficial to us because, one, if you're not having sex with anybody, we definitely need to keep our blood flowing in our genitalia, to be able to have better sex. So when it comes to your partner, you always want to keep in mind that when it comes to a man, that a lot of times their penis is the major thing that just makes them the man, right? Your penis is what makes you a man, right? If I can say that in a way, from how I grew up, the men that are around me, and a lot of times men have issues, not so much issues, but men have concerns about the size of their penis. So when you're introducing sex toys into the bedroom, one of the things I definitely want to keep in mind is that you still have to have a sex positive mindset when it comes to your partner. The toy is not replacing your partner. And a lot of times that's the message that sex toys send. Like, you're not good enough, so this sex toy can do it for me. You're not big enough, but this dildo is big enough. Again, if you go into the notion of using sex toys like that, it's not going to be a good experience, and your partner's not going to be open to it. However, if you do go into it with the outlook, hey, listen, first of all, a lot of people aren't really in healthy relationships. In a healthy relationship, you'll be able to voice your opinion, voice your concerns, and your partner will be able to listen, voice their concerns, voice their opinion, and then you come to an amicable agreement. If you're in a relationship where you cannot talk to your partner about sex, that's a problem.
Right.
So a healthy relationship, your partner and you should be able to have the conversation about doing something to have more pleasure in your sex life. So when it comes to introducing toys, it starts with the conversation. If you're not comfortable with your partner to even have a conversation about sex, then there's no way you're gonna have a conversation about introducing sex toys. So to those of you who are out there, look at your partner, because there are sometimes we have sex with people that may not be our long-term partners, but if you're with somebody and you're married or you're in a relationship, look at the person that you have and just make sure that that's a safe space, because that's in safe spaces is where learning is always constant. You're not going to be, shamed for learning together, right? But it starts with the conversation, okay? And then it also, so for the average person who wants to start using sex toys, one of the first things they do is they go to the sex toy store. But those places aren't always welcoming to people who don't have the knowledge of sex toys. So that's what sex coaches are for. So somebody like me, if you were interested in using sex toys, you would reach out to a sex coach. Hey, listen, I'm interested in introducing sex toys into my relationship. How do I go about doing it? So boom, first you want to have the conversation. Sometimes people want to get the knowledge on their own and then bring it to their partner. So that's something that you can do too. But when it comes to introducing the toys, you definitely want to talk about it with your partner. It's the simplest thing you can do. Hey, babe, listen. It doesn't always have to be like, when it comes to talking to your partner, it could just be a simple conversation. Hey, I keep seeing this toy on Facebook, this rose toy on Facebook. I want to try that. This girl said it snatched her soul. Like, don't make it uncomfortable. And then like, you and your partner, all right, let's go to the store and see what this is all about, you know? So not keeping a sex positive mindset, not using the toy to replace your partner, and just having the conversation about it. Those are ways that you can, have that conversation.
Word. So I keep saying I like this one, but this one I like too. This is a good one. How can I make sex with a condom more enjoyable?
Okay. So one of my number one sex tips is to use lubrication. A lot of people, like, I'll get people, and I can be myself, so I'm just gonna talk to y'all like how I would talk to anybody.
Word.
So I get a lot of women that be like, I don't use lubrication, I got that wet. So I'm just gonna give you all the education. So
Word.
When it comes to sex, first of all, when it comes to women, we need to be fully aroused to have sex, right? To have the most pleasurable sex. And arousal for women happens when our clitoris is engorged with blood, right? And that's like, for a man, when you're aroused, your penis gets erect. The same for a woman. Our clitoris, the bulb of our clitoris will get erect. When that happens, our vagina will expand, our vagina will lubricate more, so naturally we're gonna be we're gonna have more wetness, right? When it comes to having sex with a condom, one of the problems that we have is that it's friction. It causes friction. It's like, I don't really feel everything. So I wish I would have brought a condom with me, but if you're somebody that's using condom, make sure you get if your partner is a female, get her aroused enough so that she's able to have that wetness. So I'm gonna paint a picture for y'all. So if you just put on a condom, you're ready to go, you're a man, you're standing at attention, your penis is hard, erect, ready, your girl's laying there. Now all of a sudden, you're ready to just put it in. Now you got the condom on, you're trying to find the entry to her vagina. It's kind of hard to find the entry to her vagina. Do you know why it's like that? Because she's not ready to receive you. She's not fully aroused. So if you've ever had a struggle to find a woman's vagina opening, it's because her body is basically telling you, hey, listen, I'm asleep. You got to wake me up. You got to warm me up. Warm it up, y'all. It takes women about 20 minutes longer to get aroused than a man. So by the time, if you're a guy and you're listening, by the time your penis is hard and erect, you got to get her clit the same way your penis is. So keep that in mind. And if you're using a condom, naturally her vagina will be more wet. There'll be less friction. You'll be able to feel more. She'll be naturally lubricated. The other way you can do that to have pleasurable sex with a condom, when you put the condom on, before you put it on, the reservoir, the tip at the condom, you want to put a little bit of lubrication in there, okay? When it comes to lube, you definitely want to use a water-based lube. If you're using a condom, do not use oil-based lube because they break the condoms down. So for those of you who are so naturalists, the naturalists out there, oh, I use coconut oil. None of that with a condom because it'll break it down. But if you put a little bit in the reservoir of the condom, when you put your penis in the condom, there's lubrication around the head of your penis. For a man, the head of your penis is the most sensitive part of your penis. So now you have lubrication there that's going to lubricate that area. What lubrication does is it brings out all those nerve endings. So now as you're penetrating, as you're going in and out, the head of your penis is rubbing against, it has a barrier now, it has that liquid there, that moisture. And then you can also, a lot of condoms come with a little bit of lube. So if you ever open a condom and it has like that oily, it kind of feels like kind of slick, it's nearly not enough lubrication. So you need more. So I'm going to show you an example, and I may need a paper towel, but on a condom, you need a lot of lube. That's sufficient. Okay, that's what you should be using on a condom because it's going to feel so much better on the outside, and you put a little drop on the inside.
I'm gonna grab you a paper towel.
On the inside. This is a good lube, so it's not gonna get all jelly-like, but thank you. So those are ways that you can make sex pleasurable with the condom, with the traditional condom that goes on the penis. Lubrication.
Already gave it to us all this. Yes. Service size and everything.
Yes.
All right, so next question is, what are some ways a woman can deal with having an extremely sensitive clit?
So I think most women have our clitoris gets sensitive. So think of it like this: when you are like, let's say a man has like ejaculated or whatever, and like we're giving oral head and we're sucking the tip of his penis. It's gonna be like stop. We're gonna be like, yo, stop, right? So right. It's sensitive because like they're in their refractory period, their body wants to rest. So if you're in that moment where you're like, oh my God, he's like, my clit is sensitive, I just had sex, my clit is sensitive, and I want to keep going, but I can't. It's okay. Give yourself a break. Okay, so I just wanted to get that out there because that does happen. Same way men don't want you to continue sucking the head of their penis when they ejaculate, the same way a woman doesn't want you to do that. So I just wanted to point that out there because that is a reason why a lot of people's clitorises are sensitive and they're like, I want to keep going, but I can't. Your body needs to just chill out for a minute. But as far as just like, so again, National Masturbation Month, masturbate, know what parts of your clitoris bring you pleasure, which parts are more sensitive. And I'm going to be completely like honest and graphic. I know for me, on my vulva, the vulva is the outside of your vagina, the vagina is the hole. Okay, just so y'all know, when I talk about vulva, I'm talking about the outside. I know that on my vulva, I can't have direct clitoral stimulation, but I'm not going to know that unless I masturbate. And everybody's body is different. I know that my right side is more sensitive than my left side. So I only know that because I masturbate, and there's nothing wrong with the sensitivity. You're not going to combat that. That's your body. That's just how your body is made. The best thing you can do is learn your vulva so that way you know what erogenous zones and what parts down there are best stroked and how you like them to be stroked, honestly. There's nothing wrong with having a sensitive clit, but I will say this. A lot of times if you're using like a toy and you feel like you're being desensitized, lubrication is the best thing you can do. And I keep stressing lubrication because sex causes a lot of friction, whether it's with yourself, with your fingers, with your partner, with the mechanical toy, there's going to be friction. And sometimes if you don't use lubrication, it's not so much that your clit is sensitive, it's the micro tears that are being created because you don't have enough lube. So just, if you're worried about that, try using lubrication, masturbate, and if there are certain areas on your vulva that are more sensitive than others, that's okay. That's just your body.
Okay, cool. So the next question, how can I get over certain mental roadblocks in the bedroom that may stop me from having orgasms when me and my partner are having sex?
So have a session with a sex coach, honestly. And that's exactly what I would help you do. Everybody is different, so I don't really think there's like a general answer I can give to that. Like you may have a roadblock because you don't think you're good enough, right? You may have a roadblock because you're not happy with the COVID-20 that you just gained. You know what I'm saying? You may have a roadblock because your partner, you don't trust your partner. You're not in a healthy relationship. This guy or this woman just cheated on you. So there's a roadblock there. I can't get aroused because I don't trust you. So those are situations, and I'm glad you asked that because a lot of times we all have roadblocks. And sometimes it could be, I'm not confident with the way I smell. Or my partner, I'm not confident with my partner's hygiene. A sex coach is somebody that will help you work through those roadblocks. We'll have transparent conversations. I'll provide a safe place. Any sex coach will provide a safe space for you to be able to express your concerns. But there's really no generalized answer that I can give, knowing the nature of the business that I'm in, that I can just give as a broad spectrum. There are people out here who can help you work through your roadblocks. And I would think the best thing you can do is seek assistance from a sex coach, and if it's more psychoanalytical, a sex therapist.
All right. So I have a question that I just came up with in my head, but is all women capable of squirting?
That's a question we get a lot.
Yeah. Is all women capable of squirting?
Yes! Yes, ladies. So,
because I've been in relationships, she's like, oh no, I just don't squirt. I'm like, what?
Yeah, everybody, listen, and you know what, I'm just gonna say this, yes, every woman can squirt. Now, so let's go back to the beginning. If you think, so let me tell you, my favorite porn star is Jada Fire, okay? Jada Fire is chocolate, got them dark nipples, But when it comes to her orgasm, she squirts now. She squirts far and wide, you know what I'm saying? And I used to always be fascinated with that, y'all. So I'll tell you this. So when most people think about squirting, they think about what they saw on porn, right? So me, as a person that watched porn, I'm telling you specifically how the brain works and how we harbor these feelings and these things about reality that's not really reality based off of what we learned and what we saw, okay? So I just want to let people know, if you've ever watched porn and you saw somebody squirt, a lot of these actors and actresses on porn are picked specifically for their capabilities, okay? That doesn't mean that what you see is average. So if you see somebody with a big penis, that they picked him because he has an abnormally large penis, okay? You see the woman that squirted, Jada Fire, she was like a fire hose. That's not normal. That's not the norm. So please, before you, as a woman, get that image out of your head of like the fucking crazy squirting everywhere. Yes, you can squirt. So when it comes to squirting, which is like this people are so fascinated with that. Squirting is female ejaculation. Another question people ask, is it pee or is it something else? So when it comes to squirting, our urethra is our bladder is very close to our Skene's gland. Our Skene's gland has a lot to do with the production of our ejaculation, our ejaculatory fluid. So first thing that I would tell anybody to do, okay? So you don't, am I peeing on myself? Empty your bladder before sex or before masturbation. And ladies, I'm gonna tell you, happy National Masturbation Month. If you don't do anything, when you get this information, I want you to go home and I want you to masturbate. Because honestly, the best way to teach yourself how to squirt is through self-pleasure and masturbating. You gotta know your body. So empty your bladder. The G-spot is the part of inside of our vagina that is responsible for creating that ejaculatory fluid, okay? The G-spot is about 2 inches into your vagina, okay? So if you're a woman, and you have the natural anatomy of a vagina, you put your hand in and you make the come hither motion. So you're gonna move forward, your finger forward. It's gonna feel like the roof of your mouth. So if you put your tongue at the roof of your mouth, that's how it should feel on your fingers when you touch the G-spot. It's very ridgy. Now, if you remember when I said earlier, it takes women about 20 minutes longer to get aroused than a man, right? So for women, in order for us to even find the G-spot, we have to be aroused. Our vagina has to expand. So that arousal part has a lot to do with the quality of sex and what your body is capable of doing. So your arousal, make sure your clitoris is engorged with blood. When that happens, your labia, minora, and majora, which are outside lips, will swell up a little bit. When you're at that point, that's how you know you're fully aroused. What's the word I'm looking for? Like, anatomically, like the body, like that's how you know scientifically I am aroused. That's the arousal. That's what arousal means, okay? When that happens, you'll be able to feel your G-spot. So when you're aroused, so first things first, empty your bladder. Second thing, get aroused. So whatever you need to do to get your clit hard like your man's penis, you do that, okay? When you do that, you will be able to feel your G-spot. And the G-spot, it needs pressure. So when you're having penetrative sex, it's really hard because a lot of men's penis is not curved. You know, it's not 2 inches in, you know, it's like, so it's hard to do that. However, there are G-spot stimulator toys that have that unique curve that can help you learn your G-spot. So if you're masturbating, ladies, you can use like a G-spot stimulator to find that area. But if you're with a partner, it's pressure. So it's 2 inches in and it's pressure. The G-spot likes pressure. What you're gonna start feeling is you're gonna feel like you have to pee. That's the sensation that you're gonna feel. So remember when I said earlier, how do you get to an orgasm? Relaxation and tension. So if you have a weak pelvic floor, you're not going to be able to release that fluid. Because in order to do it, your body has to contract, right? So if your vaginal walls are weak and your pelvic floor is weak, it's gonna be like, I can't let it go, because your body, you don't have the strength in your pelvic floor to do that. But also relaxation, talking yourself. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of it, like, oh my God, what's going on right now? when you get that
I'm not gonna pee on
sensation,
him.
yeah, when you get that, and that's why most women are like, oh my God, it feels like I'm gonna pee. That's why the first thing I said is empty your bladder, so that way you know you don't gotta pee.
Fuck it, pee.
Yeah, so just let it go and let it go, and there you have squirting, female ejaculation. Now, what I do want y'all to know is that when I mentioned Jada Fire, she squirts like, so some of us, we may squirt like a leaky faucet, like trip, you know what I'm saying? Some people might be like a water faucet, you know, some might be like a fire extinguisher, you know, so don't compare your experience to what you've seen on porn or what your girlfriends have told you. And then honestly, I'm just gonna be completely honest, and I'm so fascinated with just sex in general and my body in general. Like the first time I experienced like that with myself, I was like, okay, I have to teach women how to do this. So I'm really like technical, ladies, so listen. Anything I tell you, just know that most of the time I've done it, and I'm telling you from experience. Like I'm not gonna teach you anything that I don't like know. I'm not an expert, and like I said, experience I think is the best teacher. So like the first time I ever like tried this, like I'm in my first like quarter of like sex coaching, and I'm like, they're like, we're talking about female ejaculation. I'm using a toy on myself to figure out how it all works. Because remember, I just had my first orgasm at 28. So now I'm in this discovery stage. I'm like, I'm going to have to find out everything my body can do. What? So I'm there. I'm like, okay, I feel it. Just a little fluid comes out. So as you practice, you'll learn more, you know. And also, the last thing I'm going to say is that stay hydrated. One of the things we don't do is we don't drink enough water. Your body, your sexual, like your sex organs, they need to be lubricated, and they need to be, water helps keep that stuff alive. So if you know, never drink water, it's gonna be kind of hard to have like that experience. So make sure you're well hydrated too.
Word. Dope information there.
That was a lot.
Information there for everybody.
That was a lot.
All right, so last question here is what are some of your must-have toys in a bedroom for a couple or just for a single person? Just in general, what's your must-have toys? In the bedroom. Or must-have items for the bedroom. Must-have items for the bedroom.
So one of the things that I started to learn about is feng shui of the bedroom. So before we even get into the toys, I must say, like, the bedroom has to be, you want to think about the lighting in your bedroom. You want to think about the fabric of your sheets. You want to think about the furniture, the placement of your furniture. So I definitely encourage most people to just Google feng shui of the bedroom. The way you place your bed, how many nightstands you have in your bed are all like, if you're a person that believes in like energy, feng shui is like the placement of items, objects, and that give off energy. So if your bedroom's all jacked up, if you got one nightstand but you're trying to build a relationship with somebody, that symbolizes that you're not ready to bring someone else into your relationship. So make sure you got two nightstands. So there are things like that you can do in your bedroom to get the mood right. Fabric, the way you lay on your sheets, the smell of your bedroom, the lighting, all of that has to do with how, like, remember I said earlier, your senses, everything has to do with your senses. So your bedroom, I'm really big on the bedroom being like that sacred space, because that's the place in our houses that we designate for most sexual activity to happen. If that space isn't set with intention, then your encounter with your partner is not going to be set with intention. So I just wanted to get that out first. So the must-have, so if you got all that stuff right in your bedroom,
I gotta get another nightstand.
Yeah, so if you're a guy, right, and you're dating with the intention to marry, or if you're a woman and you're dating with the intention to marry, and you bring a partner home and you're dating somebody and there's only one nightstand, you're basically telling them, I don't really want you here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Have two nightstands.
So I'm cool with one nightstand, because I'm not dating, so I'm cool with one nightstand.
Yeah, so once you get into that phase, you definitely want to like fix up some things in your bedroom. So besides all of that, you want to make sure, like, my number one sex tip, like I say to everybody, I'm really big on education. We don't talk enough about this, but lubrication. And I'm going to say this again. Everybody should have lubrication. I'm going to go over really quickly the differences in lube and why they're beneficial. And that's like my number one thing that you should have in the bedroom. All right, so lubrication, what it does is it creates a barrier for a woman. So let's talk about the woman's body. Our vulvas are very, very permeable and sensitive, okay? Permeable meaning that anything can get inside of it. It's very absorbent. So when you're sitting in a pad, when you're sitting in certain things, when you think of chemicals, you have to be very mindful of what you have on your vulva. because it's a permeable piece of our body and things can just be sucked into our bloodstream. So when it comes to lube, a lot of women have fear about using lubrication because they've had bad experiences with it. It's sticky. So I'm just going to teach you, if I'm telling you that lube is the number one thing that you should have, I'm just going to give you the game on how you get it, what to look out for. So you want to make sure for women that you stay away from lubes that have glycerin in them and propylene glycol. So glycerin and propylene glycol. Those are two ingredients that are sugar derivatives. What happens with anything that has sugar, when you put it on our vulva, it's a breeding ground for yeast. So most women, when they experience sex with lubrication, they're like, I don't want to use that because last time I had it, it broke me out and I got all irritated. That's why. Okay, so pick the right lube. Make sure it doesn't have those two ingredients, no glycerin or no propylene glycol. And I'm going to tell you this right now, 99% of lubricants have glycerin. So you really have to read the ingredients. And another thing, the sex toy market isn't very regulated. So you definitely need to go to an educator or Google research all the ingredients that are in your sex products. Because there's no like FDA like evaluating the stuff that people make. So your lubrication you want to have. You want to have a water-based lube. You want to have a silicone-based lube or a hybrid lube. Water-based lubes work best like our natural fluids. Like, so when we put it on our vulva, it's the best thing that you can do to add moisture down there. I don't care if you're 21, I don't care if you're 45. Use lubrication. I don't care how wet you think you can get. What happens with our vulvas as women is that because the tissue down there is so sensitive, when it comes to friction, if there's no lubrication there, we get micro tears, which makes us more susceptible to HIV, AIDS, STIs, STDs. So lubrication provides that barrier. Not only that, but it also creates more sensitivity on your vulva, ladies. So if you touch your skin without lube and then you put lubrication on, there's a glide there and a protection there. So not only are you gonna have more pleasurable sex, you're also protecting yourself. So water-based lubes are really great for that. If you're somebody that's into anal sex, the anus does not produce naturally occurring liquids like our vaginal canal does. So you definitely want to have a lubricant that is a silicone base or a lubricant that has a thickness to it to create the barrier on your anus. Because like I said, there's no liquid there, and sex will be a lot more pleasurable with lubrication if you're having anal sex. The other reason why you should use lube is because let's say you're giving oral sex, right? They have lubes that are flavored lubes, okay? Ladies and whoever is a penis lover and loves to suck dick, this is what I'm gonna tell you, right? Lubrication. If you get a flavored lube that is not made with sugar but has a sugar substitute, like aspartame or sorbitol or like stevia, whatever, in the lube ingredient, what that does is it stimulates our glands, our salivation glands, right? So if you're using a lube, put a lube on your penis. Hold on, let me back up. One of my recommendations for ladies is to take a flavored lube, right before oral. This is why, this is my number one thing in the bedroom. I'm telling you, if you only get this one thing, just add lube. I swear your sex life will change. Okay, when you get some lube, put some on the outside of your lips, right? Squirt a little bit in your mouth. If it's flavored, it's gonna get your salivation glands going. So now when it comes to having sex with a penis owner, with someone that has a penis, they like moisture, enthusiasm, all of that stuff. So now you got that extra lubrication in your mouth. So when you go down on your partner, you'll have a slide, you'll be able to glide your hands a lot better. It'll be a wetter experience. You'll have that more spit, more salivation going on, all because you had a bottle of lube. Like that same thing, y'all be like, I don't want to use that shit. It's just finding the right lube, and that's what a sex coach would do. Like somebody like me, like I have packages where I'll like, all right, call me up, Z, I'm going to the sex shop, come with me. I'm your wing woman. I'm gonna come with you. I'm gonna show you everything you need to learn, or we can do a private session where I can go over all the different kinds of lubes. I sell bedroom candy lubes, so we can test them all that stuff. But lubrication is like my number one thing, okay? And not only that, so for ladies, if you're like in a situation like I said earlier, where your partner is ready to penetrate and you're not aroused, lubrication also helps to get us aroused a lot quicker. So one of the tricks I used to do when I learned the secret of lube, when I first time I used it, and I was like, oh my God, sex feels so much better. Like, even if you're like, your partner's like rubbing his penis on your vulva, if there's no lube there, like, it's gonna be like friction, skin on skin. You put lube there, you're gonna be like, oh shit, what? But like, even doing that, like, one of the things I can even tell women to do is, like, if you have lube by your nightstand, even like easy access, like most lubes come in bottles like this. If you get like a little like saucer, right? Like a little saucer on your nightstand. And this is why you should have 2 nightstands. I mentioned that earlier. One on the right, one on the left. You know what I'm saying? So if you have a saucer, you just pour your lube on there. Pour as much lube as you can. So as you're going through sex, all you gotta do is take your hand, slab it, put it down there, or take your hand, if you're giving your man a hand job, take the lube. You already got it. You don't gotta worry about like pouring it on the dish and shit. So lube is the #1 thing that you should have in your bedroom. If you have a nightstand, you should have all different kinds of lubes. So that's a must. That's my #1 thing that you should have. And it's easy. So even if you're not, and I say lubrication because even if you're not the kinkiest person, if you're conservative, you know, if you're not experienced, you don't need to have a bottle of lube.
Right.
It's not technical. Just pour it out, put it on your genitals, and you're good to go. Yeah. So as far as, what was the question? Sex toys, right?
Yeah,
I went off into lube.
Yeah.
All right.
The must-haves.
So I must say, so now that you already have lube because you listened to Z, you made sure you went and got you some lube. So lube is already there. And another reason why I said lubrication is because if you're introducing sex toys, you need to have lubrication on those toys in order for them to work to the best of their ability. I definitely think in your nightstand, especially if you're coupled with somebody, like you're in a relationship, I don't think you should share sex toys. So this is more so directed towards like a couple or a single person who has like a stash, whatever. So if you're a single person, one of the things, if you're a man, a penis owner, one of the things that I would definitely say for you to have as a sex toy in your reservoir, in your stash, have your lubricant and a male masturbation sleeve. What is a male masturbation sleeve? So a lot of them are made with like different materials, but it's basically a jelly-like sleeve that you slip over your penis. Why should a man have this? Okay. One is that a lot of the male masturbators are made like the inside of a woman's vagina. So when you add the lube and you stroke it, it feels like you're having penetrative sex with a woman. Okay. Not only that, is that it'll help you build your stamina. So if you're single, right, and it's something called edging, you can Google that. Google is a wealth of knowledge, right? So edging, it'll allow you to build up your stamina. So when you're by yourself, fellas, if you want to work on your performance, having a male masturbation sleeve can get you used to having that sensation on your penis. If you're not with somebody, it could definitely help you with your stamina and lasting longer. So for fellas, have your masturbation sleeve and your lube in the cut. For men who have issues with erectile function, meaning like your penis doesn't function to the best of its ability, there are constriction bands, aka cock rings, that I would recommend that you have in your stash, as well as a penis pump. A lot of people think penis pumps are made for the enlargement of your penis, but it's actually something that you can do daily to help the blood flow in your penis. So if you're somebody that struggles with that, a cock ring and a penis pump, and then a masturbation sleeve for the fellas. Also, vibrators. So vibratory stimulation is something that can definitely get you aroused right when you need to, especially if you're a woman. So I suggest women to have vibratory stimulators. So I'll just show you some examples of some. Of course, you would have to know your body to know what works best with your body, but I'll just show you some examples of some of the vibes that are out there on the market. So these are really fun shapes. So this right here is a really lightweighted vibe. So this is something that I would definitely recommend somebody to have if you're a beginner, or if you're interested in using it on your partner. Sometimes men can be very like standoffish from using vibes, but something like this is really great for like, you know, stimulating your ear, stimulating your clitoris, or even like nipple play. Or for a guy, something like this is really good to massage your prostate from the outside, which is your gooch. We call it the gooch. That's also another way you can stimulate your prostate, which I highly, highly encourage men to do, because especially black men, I'm talking to you, brother. I know the history's out there. Don't put nothing in my butt. I'm a sex educator. I know how we're plagued with prostate cancer. So if you don't want anything inside, you can still stimulate and massage your prostate from the outside. You gotta do it, because if you don't, like, it's just causing a lot of problems for y'all. It really does. So using something like this to stimulate that area is also helpful. So having just a regular massager. And they come in all different sizes. So if you don't like things like this, they come in like wands. I definitely think every bedroom should have a massage wand. It's like a wand that has a knob on it and it vibrates. Not only is it good for clitoral stimulation, but just like being intimate with your partner, giving a massage. Like, sex toys don't have to be like penis shaped.
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
like a massage wand is like the second best thing to have. I recommend everybody to have at least a massage wand in their bedroom, because it works wonderful. Like, if your man or your woman has had a really long day and they got kinks in their neck, a massage wand can help get those things out. And then if you're really right, you can move it down to the clit and have orgasm at the same time. So those are lube, vibrators, and a massage wand. Like, massages and a massage wand is definitely, and all the stuff I said for guys, those are the things that I definitely recommend.
Okay, all right. So I got nothing else for you if you got nothing else for them.
You got no more questions? No concerns? No nothing?
No, I mean, I definitely learned a lot.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much. So
that's
that was productive for me. I learned a good amount in this episode, so I definitely appreciate the time. I hope everybody else learned as much as I feel like I learned. I mean,
that's important to me that you learned something, because like, when I was intrigued about sex, like, where do we go? We go to the internet, right? We look on Google.
Right.
So I'm looking for people that look like me. And most sex coaches are older white women. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm in the space now, like, my network is in human sexuality. So I have an expansive network. And the network with the women of color and the men of color, I hold that near and dear to my heart, because our numbers are very small. And honestly, I picked this lane because, one, I've been in coaching my whole life. Like, when I worked for the federal government, my position, my role was a leadership role. I coach people. That company, like, the government invested a lot of time into me. So 13 years of coaching people, regular people off the street, gave me like that boost of confidence and knowledge that I know the baseline of coaching. And then I went through the education to learn about the human sexuality. So it just goes hand in hand. But I definitely, I love when people say I learned something new, because that's what coaching is all about. Like, just getting you better, getting you to the next level. And sex is no different. It shouldn't be any different. And we should definitely be more focused on the pleasure, because there's a lot of people out here having sex without pleasure. Like I said, I had sex for so many years and I never even experienced an orgasm, let alone it was more so for the enjoyment of my partner. I didn't even know that I had a voice. I didn't even know that what I wanted mattered. So that's important to me. Your pleasure matters. And people like me and other women and men who are in this field, we're doing it because it's something that's needed. So definitely don't feel any shame. And if you feel shameful about anything, it's not your fault. We live in a world where they tell us that this shit's wrong. But when it comes to Black people, and this is something that I have to be completely frank and honest, when it comes to Black people, we are hypersexualized, but also we're the people that aren't experiencing as much pleasure as we should when it comes to everything in life. So my business, The Pursuit of Pleasure, has a lot to do with sex, but it also has a lot to do with my journey into feeling everything that's pleasurable. Like, I want to eat good food. You know what I'm saying? I want to listen to nice music. When I step out my house, I don't want to be plagued with a whole bunch of, I don't want to have to worry about getting shot when I step out my house. Why do I have to go through that? So my business has a lot to do with it's not just about can you orgasm, it's really tapping into our birthright. Pleasure is our birthright. We deserve that. And I have no problem. Like, I quit my job. Like, I was making good money. You know what I'm saying? I quit my government job to do this because I think it's something that's definitely needed. Like, I want people, like, there's something that happens in your body when you have radical self-love. And unfortunately, the world tells us that, especially if you're brown and Black, that you're not deserving. But I'm here to tell you, when I was younger, like, I used to look at Girls Gone Wild. Like, these white women were able to be so free with themselves. Shirts up. When we do that, it's like, oh, no. I'm that person that's like, yeah, shirts off. Let's go. Like, you gotta like you gotta tap in. You gotta tap in, and you're deserving of pleasure. And just like we have a lot of emphasis on mental health, there are people who are talking about mental health, but there aren't a lot of professionals. There are professionals that are doing it, but there are some people who aren't professional that are like, you know, giving y'all help on mental health issues. When it comes, I've always been an educator at heart, so please do your research regarding like who you're getting your information from. Because if you go on Instagram right now, there are a ton of people that are gonna give you sex tips and things like that, but it's not always from the best place.
Right.
You know, so people like me, like I love Boston. This is my town. I'm born and raised here. I left out of here for about 9-10 years, which was something that I needed to do for my journey. But when I came back to the city, one of the things that meant a lot to me was like giving back. All of the knowledge that I left out, and I left Boston to go achieve and do, I'm now bringing it back. We need to be more sex positive, just what it is. Because think of it like this. Like, I had experiences in my life where I was taken advantage of. I've been sexually assaulted. I've been taken advantage of. But I think if more people who have been in my situations just step out of that and tap into this world, we'll be able to make stronger people. We'll be able to have a voice. Like what happens to people in other communities may not happen to us. You know, like, so I'm really big on just making sure the message is directed towards everybody, but I have a special place in my heart for people of color when I talk about sex, because I know that we're hypersexualized, but we don't get the education that we need. It's not easy.
Agree.
Yeah. It's not easily accessible. Like if you ask anybody, like, what kind of sex ed did you have? Like anybody in Boston, in our community, or anybody in black communities, in brown communities, what kind of sex ed did you learn? My mom, my mom told me not to have sex. Close my legs. Right. You're fast ass. Oh no, you know that's what's out there. But I'm here to, like, I've always been a rebel. Like I'm like, fuck that. No, we're sexual beings and we're gonna talk about this shit. Like even like when I have children, like I'm just gonna be so different with my kids, because I think when you, first of all, before we end this, I just have to give y'all this, because now I have the opportunity to speak to y'all. I don't have any children, but I was a child. So anytime someone tells me like my opinion is like, and you don't have kids, you don't know. No, I know what could have helped me when I was a kid.
Right.
So one of the things that could have helped me when I was a kid was just knowing the anatomy of my body. So if you're a parent and you have a son, right? When your son starts touching his genitals, a lot of times people, you know, he may do it. Y'all may have company in the living room or whatever, and here come your son playing with his little penis. The first thing we tell them, no, don't do that. Right there at 3 years old, your child is now fearful of their own body. They're not gonna touch it. They're gonna feel shame when they look at it. You don't even know that when it comes to kids, like I'm really big on this with kids. When it comes to kids, like they move off of emotion until they're about like 8 years old. So everything you do to a child, they internalize that and it becomes a part of who they are as an adult. So when I was a kid, I knew that if all the adults in my life, nobody ever talked to me about sex. I figured out everything on my own. Like the shit that I went through, learned it in the playground, middle school playground, you know what I'm saying? Like of all the adults in my life, no one ever talked to me about sex. So when I went into the real world, I didn't have the skills to advocate for myself. I got taken advantage of a lot. So the more we don't talk about sex, the more we're gonna be putting more people into society who are fearful, who are shameful, who are gonna be taken advantages because they don't have the capacity to advocate for themselves. So I say that a lot too, because a lot of the relationship issues that we have when we're adults stem a lot from what we learned as kids. And I'm like, fuck that. We're gonna unlearn all this shit. We're gonna unpack all this shit and learn some new shit. So that's what you gotta empty your cup, y'all, so you can fill it with new stuff. I'm telling you, we've been kind of like conditioned in a way that's like, it's crazy. Like, how can you be so shameful of something that births life? Right.
You
know.
And so you do before I even wrap this up, like I gotta put you out there too. You do like live workshops and demos and things like that for people, right?
So we'll talk a little bit about that. So I'm a young person, entrepreneur, just like most people, especially after COVID. But I do have my hands in a couple of different things. So when I first got into the industry, I started working as a sex toy consultant. with Bedroom Candy, which is a company, an in-home party company with Candy Burr. She's like the Atlanta housewife. So she created this business that allows other women of color to have their own business. So I'm like an independent contractor for Bedroom Candy.
Okay.
So one of the ways that I actually get to talk about sex is through fun, because most people don't want to. If I just said, hey, listen, let's have a conversation about sex, the people that I want to get, the people that I want to attract, they ain't trying to hear that.
Right.
They want to have a good time.
Right.
So I love the in-party home experience, and I do in-home party experiences with couples. A lot of times when it comes to sex toy companies, they leave the men out, which I think is crazy, because that's basically telling a heterosexual person that your partner doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But with Bedroom Candy, we invite men in.
Sex parties, woman only.
Yeah, like that's crazy.
I've seen it a lot. Yeah, I've seen it a lot.
But listen, you book with me, the fellas are invited. We want them in the room. We want them in the conversation. So that's one of the ways that I get a lot of my clients. I get to like share my wealth of knowledge, because in this world, sex is so intimate. People don't want to invite you into their personal life without knowing a little bit of something about what you have to offer.
Right.
So the sex toy parties is a great way for just like the average person to get to know me as a person, have fun, learn about sex toys, learn about quality of sex toys, and ask questions with no judgment. And you're not paying for me. It's just like free. Like you go to somebody's house, oh, Z just came over and did a sex toy party. You're a guest there. You didn't pay anything. I just gave you all this free knowledge. And now you're like, oh shit, what? Okay, boom. So, which is very different from going into a sex toy shop. Right. Where it's just normally 99% of the people in the sex toy shops, except for Good Vibes, are just sales associates. They don't have the education to teach you that. Right. So the sex toy parties that I offer give that. I call it sex edutainment, because it's entertaining. I'm corny at times, y'all. So I do sex edutainment parties. I have a package where it's like a text only package where you can text me, like have me in your back pocket and text me, pay like $70 a week. You text me between 10 and 10, I'll answer all your questions. You know what I mean? So I offer things like that. One-on-one coaching. Right now, I'm not taking as many clients because I want to definitely invest in the people that I have right now. We're doing like 6-month program packages where I'm coaching people for 60 minutes a day, virtually, where we're going over all kinds of things. And that's the beauty, of having a sex coach, is that like, it's really your plan. It's just, we're like just there to give you permission, give you information, give you knowledge that you didn't know, and just like help you put it into action. So I offer that. And I also do things like, I have packages where, like, let's say you're planning a date night and you want to like really spice it up sexually. Like I can come to your house, show you all kinds of tools and products, just you and your partner, or just you in the privacy of your own home. We could talk about the things you can do. I could set up a whole itinerary for you regarding like romance and intimacy. And then feng shui, like I mentioned earlier, I talked about the placement of objects in your bedroom. I'm really good at like making sure, like I come into your house, look at your bedroom, tell you all the shit you ain't doing right. Like, girl, you trying to get a man, but you got a picture on above your bed of like, a woman being like, not treated right. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Right. So like, I come into your house, look at your furniture, look at your fabric you have on your bed, different objects that you have in your room, like, and then, we'll talk about, like, I'll set you up with like furniture vendors and things like that. People around the community that sell things for your bedroom, to kind of help you like recreate the space. It's definitely important to have a good space to have sex. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure,
those are some of the things I do. And then like, honestly,
weird experiences.
I also have things like, if you need to go and shop, like I can come to you. If you have a place you want to visit, like we can do field trips to the sex shop. I'll walk you down every aisle and tell you about everything in there. And that's what makes my business different from a lot of people. Who's doing that?
Right.
Right. And it's been such a hard time to like put myself out there because of the censorship that's online, and social media is like one of the biggest ways people communicate. I just want to be authentically myself and just give people the education because it's needed.
So,
That's it.
so where can people find you? Social medias, website?
So you can go to ourpleasurematters.com. That's the easiest way. If you have questions, you can just hit me up in the more questions sections on my site, and then just hit me up. I'm really responsive. I mean, if this is gonna be posted on social media, most people know who are watching this. Like Z, I answer my phone 3 o'clock in the morning. If you message me, yo, I get stuff like this. Hey, yo, listen, I just used the pump and now I have a lump on my penis. Dude, sometimes that happens with pumping if you use trash pumps. But I get stuff like that, or like, damn Z, like, what kind of lube should I get? Like, you know what I mean? Like, right. I'm not just like, to me, wealth and all that stuff is important, but I definitely think that if you serve people, like, you'll get all of that. So my business is all about serving people. I learned a lot of knowledge, and I just want to share it because it's stuff that people need to know. So if you're on my Facebook, you can find me by my name, Ziakeya Haggerty. On Instagram at madam_zlove. You can DM me. Facebook, you can DM me. My website, you can reach out. I'm very responsive. I really care about what I do. So.
Word, love it.
Yeah.
Dope. Whoa.
So yeah. So thank y'all for having me.
Thank you.
Because it's like a welcome.
That was lit. That was one of my favorite ones to this point. That was dope. I learned
like
a lot,
a welcome back home. No bullshit. Thank you, Sammy, in PA. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, because I gotta, people have to get to know you,
Yeah, for sure.
You. So I'm definitely thankful.
That was dope.
Thank you.
You guys have watched the Y3 podcast, brought to you by Modern Party Art.
Yes, come through, y'all.
Yes, sir. Now you can kill that cup.
Yes.